Today is our third week of special speakers. Today's speaker is Shanna Watt. She is the Community Education Coordinator at North Kansas City Hospital, and she is doing a presentation today on Depressurize with exercise. So glad everybody could join us, and if Shanna would like to take over, we'll love to hear what you have to say.
Hi, guys. So as Linda mentioned, I'm the coordinator of community education, and I am really excited to be here with you today. So let's take a little bit of a refresher as to what blood pressure is and what the numbers mean. So there are two different readings for blood pressure. I'm sure that you've heard this. It's the systolic and the diastolic. The systolic pressure is the top number. So it represents the pressure in your veins as your heart is beating. So think of it as your heart is in the action of compressing, okay? And then the diastolic is the lower number, and that's the pressure in your blood, in the veins in your blood, the veins in your heart as it's filling back up with blood. So the CDC recommends that you have a blood pressure reading of no more than 120 over 80. Anything above that is called hypertension. So the heart is a muscle, and when there is more pressure in your heart, it actually has to work harder. So the muscle, which is your heart, is working harder because there is more blood pressure in it. This can cause it to fatigue faster and not work as well. So I put a little diagram up here for you because it also causes the blood not to flow through your heart as well. So if you've been told that you have high blood pressure, not all is lost. You can still take control of this and of your blood pressure. There are some heart smart strategies that you can work on. And if you have more than one of these to work on, then just focus on one for now. Once you have that under control, then you can focus on another one. So don't try to conquer the world in one day. The first heart smart strategy is not smoking. I know that this can be really hard to hear or really hard to think about, but taking steps to stop smoking, it would be a really good thing, not only for your heart, but for a lot of your organs. Limiting alcohol, reducing salt in your diet. So this also means to think about salt that you're getting in your diet that you may not be adding to your food, but you may be eating some processed food that are higher in salt. Most like chicken broth or vegetable broth has a lot of salt in it. And so that's like hidden salt that you wouldn't be thinking about. So check the salt before you eat it. And the last one, the one that we're going to be talking about today, is to get regular exercise. So first, if you are not already active and exercising, it is important to talk to your doctor before starting. They can help you figure out what a good heart rate is for you and also make sure that you are ready to exercise. So it's pretty important to talk to that doctor and just make sure that you're going to do it safely. So blood pressure can actually go up temporarily when you are exercising. So your systolic blood pressure is the pressure that will go up, not necessarily your diastolic blood pressure. So monitor that. If you know the symptoms and the signs of you having high blood pressure, sometimes you don't feel it at all. Sometimes you can kind of feel it. Pay attention to that. And if you have a little cuff of your own or a machine of your own, it might be worth just checking it. So I realize that you have probably been talked to a lot about exercise. I feel like when we think about exercise, we tend to relate it to our high school gym class or our parents telling us to go outside, which I think is a trick because they actually wanted you just to leave them alone for a little bit, but typically just go outside and play. That's a form of exercise. So I am here to put a spin on that. Exercise can be defined as an activity requiring physical effort. carried out to sustain or improve health and fitness. So similar words that you could use to describe exercise could be movement, or it could be effort and training. Exercise can be anything that you do that increases your heart rate and is an effort. So I'm going to say that again. Exercise can be anything that you do that increases your heart rate and is an effort. For some of us, that's walking farther in the parking lot to the car. And for others, it's running 3 miles. Exercise is completely dependent on the person who is performing that activity. I think sometimes it's easy to get wrapped up in watching other people exercise and thinking that's what we should be doing. Try to focus on yourself. Try to figure out what's best for you, because we don't know the journey that those people have taken to get to where they are. And it would be a mistake to skip steps on that same journey and not to take your own journey. So exercise and fitness is your own personal journey. So try to get 30 minutes a day. This is our end goal, right? We're not going to start at 30 minutes a day because that would be really hard to just start from nothing to 30 minutes a day. And try to get 5 days a week of moderate aerobic activity. So you can break this up into 10 minutes and you can do it 3 times a day, which might be a little bit more achievable for you. The goal is to get a total of 150 minutes a week. So if the number 150 just make you kind of gasp for air, again, we're not going to start at 150. If you haven't been moving, we're going to take that number down and work up to that number. So for vigorous aerobic activity, you actually only need 75 minutes a week. So we will go over the difference between what is moderate and what is vigorous. I know that the 75 minutes might be more appealing than the 150, but again, you have to know your body and maybe not start out as vigorous, okay? So moderate refers to the intensity level and aerobic refers to the type of activity. And aerobic activity is anything that increases your heart rate and requires you to breathe more. Moderate can be a little bit harder to describe. So let's talk about the talk test. This is referring to your heart rate. So it varies from person to person. So each person that does an activity, their heart rate's going to be different. Because you require more oxygen to breathe, and you breathe heavier whenever you work out, your heart rate is also increases. So let me just put this plain and simple. Your heart's going to beat faster, which is going to make you breathe heavier, which is how we're going to use the talk test. So as your heart rate increases and you have to breathe more, for moderate activity, you should be able to talk, but not sing. So during an activity, you can talk just fine, but singing would definitely be out of the question. Completing a short sentence should be no problem. However, you should not be able to talk completely like normal. So you should require more breath to complete the sentence and have to breathe between sentences. So sometimes we can talk a lot without actually taking a breath, and that's okay. Just like I just did. I put 3 sentences together without breathing. Now let me do it whenever I would be doing a moderate activity. Sometimes we can talk and not take a breath. And that's okay. So you see the difference. I have to stop and breathe. I'm taking time to take in more air. I can't put lots of sentences together. That would be what moderate intensity would look like. So here are some examples of what moderate intensity might look like for you. Again, remember I said this is different for everybody. So you have to find your own moderate intensity. A Brisk walk, that would be about 3 miles an hour or faster. This is not a race pace, okay? Water aerobics, bicycling slower than 10 miles per hour and on flat surfaces. Playing tennis, doubles, so you're not running all over the court. Ballroom dancing, and general gardening. So vigorous intensity. Now remember, this is the one that we only need 75 minutes a week of. So let's take a look at what that means for your heart rate and for your breathing. So if you can achieve vigorous intensity, like I said, you don't need as many minutes a week. When deciding what intensity you should be at, make sure that you're doing it safely. Don't plan to run a race when you haven't walked a mile. For vigorous intensity, you should not be able to say more than a few words together without pausing for a breath. So an example of that would be the other day when I was talking to my husband, he asked where I wanted to go on vacation for this year. So you can see there's a pretty big difference in the way that I was talking and breathing between the moderate and the vigorous. With the moderate, I could complete a whole sentence and then breathe. With the vigorous, I had to breathe in the sentence. So that's an easy way for you to tell kind of where you are on your own intensity level. So here are some examples of the vigorous activities. This would be race walking, jogging or running, swimming laps, so not a swimming class, but actually swimming back and forth laps, playing tennis with singles, so you're running all around that court, aerobic dancing, this would be bicycling at 10 miles per hour or faster and going up hills, jump roping. I don't know if you guys have tried that lately, but it's not nearly as easy as when we were kids. And then heavy gardening. So this would be continuously digging or using a hoe or rake. You can also do like a hiking, which is uphill or with a heavy backpack. So there are other types of exercises than just aerobic. Strength and resistance training can be a very effective way to increase your heart rate and become stronger. So there are many benefits to strength training. Your blood pressure can temporarily increase while doing this as well. The heavier weights you lift can affect how much your heart rate increases. So start small and work your way up in weight. Remember, your muscles aren't the only thing that need to get stronger. You have tendons and ligaments that need to build up their strength as well. So gradually increase your weight. Balance is another form of exercise. So balance is one of those underestimated things. We don't really know that we've lost it until we've lost it. So balance is a very, very important form of exercise to be practicing. You can practice on your balance to help you prevent some falls and some injuries in the future. And if you're worried about falling now, make sure that you have someone with you when you practice your balance. So there's a handout that I can send you on some things that you can do to practice balance. I like to talk about touch points. So for the safety of balance, if you don't feel very stable, it's better to have more touch points. So for example, if I was standing, I would have 2 touch points, my right foot and my left foot. If I am standing and holding on to a table with one hand, I have 3 touch points, my right foot, left foot, and hand. If I'm holding on with 2 hands, I have 4 touch points. So you can see how I just keep adding the touch points. If I'm leaning against a wall, that's a touch point. So the more touch points I have, the more stable I am. So if balance is a big concern for you, think about that when you're going to be practicing your balance. And flexibility and stretching are key to keeping your muscles healthy. For the people that I see, I hear of all sorts of aches and pains, and we do just a little bit of stretching and they feel much better. So don't underestimate how much stretching can help you. It also helps to prevent injuries, and it increases your circulation. Okay, guys, well, that was kind of quick, but I wanted to take some time to go over some questions if you might have them, and also give you a challenge for this week. So Linda has told me that your challenge for this week is to exercise for 20 minutes 3 times this week. Now remember that 20 minutes could be 2 10-minute exercises. It could be 4 5-minute exercises. So if you know you're going to have to run out to different stores, park 5 minutes away from the store and walk into the store. You've got 10 minutes total right there when you walk back out. So just different things like that. Be creative with it. The most important thing whenever you're doing exercise is to find something that you like. So if you like it, then you're going to do it pretty much. If you like to garden, do some gardening. If you like gardens but don't like to garden, then find a garden to walk around. Make it enjoyable for yourself. Try new things as well. If you have never tried a yoga class, try a yoga class. See if it's your thing or not. You won't know it until you try it. And yoga is also really good for the balance as well. So my advice to you is to try to get that 20 minutes 3 times a week. If you're already achieving that, then great. It's time to step it up. So maybe go for 25 minutes or 30 minutes 3 times a week. Remember, for the moderate intensity, your end goal is that 150 minutes per week. So keep increasing your minutes or do it more times a week until you get there. So I will go ahead and see, do we have any questions?
Shanna, I just wanted to add something. When you guys are doing your exercise, it's a really good idea to jot down how you're feeling after you exercise. Once you put about 10 minutes in for exercise, that's what kicks the feel-good endorphins that comes from your brain and makes you feel like you've really done something. So that's something else to consider, is you might want to just start jotting down how you're feeling after you exercise. And that's a really good motivational tip.
Absolutely. And when we exercise, we also have some pain blocking chemicals that we release as well. So your pain should actually be better. There's a whole bunch of benefits to exercising other than just lowering your blood pressure, because hitting that 150 minutes or 75 minutes a week will actually help to lower your blood pressure overall. So yes, it temporarily increases it, but it will lower it.
While we're waiting for questions, I just also wanted to add something. In September, we will be doing our annual Steady Your Stride event. This is a great event where you can get a fall risk evaluation done by a therapist, physical and occupational therapist, and you can take home some tips to decrease your chances of taking a tumble. So that will be coming out. The dates and how to register will be coming out in the new Your Health magazine. And if you don't receive that and would like to, you can sure get a hold of us and we can get you on the mailing list. So I'm really excited. We've been kind of working on that this morning with therapy today, trying to get everything set and ready to roll.
That is an amazing event. I know people are always looking for it.
Yes. It usually fills up pretty quickly as well. Unfortunately, because of COVID, we couldn't do it last year, but the previous years have been really, really busy. And people go away with some really great tips.
Absolutely.
So Shanna, it doesn't look like we're going to have any questions. I would also like to add that next week, May 27th, our presentation, our 4th and final presentation for the blood pressure challenge for May is going to be on stress management. So I hope you guys all join us. We're going to have a great presentation and we'll see you guys then.
All right, bye. Thank you.
Thank you.